Just saw the movie LongLegs and yikes. Let's talk about it. Welcome, guys, to another movie review. Introductions are always in order. It is I, the Dumble, whose door is always open. Gandalf without the gray or the white, because I'm all black. Jody LaForge, captaining this enterprise, and the Swag King, as crowned by Copa Ex Machina. I am Left Eye E.G.O. And I am joined by the woman whose boldness is matched by her beauty, creating kitchen cabinets out of butcher block. The always resourceful and beautiful Shira. How are you, my love?
I'm good.
We are fresh off a nap, guys. We are energized to give you this review of a very creepy movie that we saw this past weekend, LongLegs. So you guys know how these movie reviews go. We are going to give you the E.G.O statistics after we give you the overall description of the movie. Our E.G.O statistics are going to be casting, plot, pacing, and scare factor. And we don't do the 1 to 5 star crap over here. We do 1 to 5 E.G.Os. So let's get into it. All right. So first thoughts on LongLegs. To be fair, I never even read the introduction on this. I didn't watch any previews. I just heard about the movie and said, I'm going to actually see it. I think you were the one that maybe looked over the preview. And what did you think at first when you heard about it?
First of all, when you told me about it, I said it sounds slow as heck. Second of all, you made me watch the preview to choose between this and Oddity.
We're going to be watching that one too.
And I told you out of the gate.
They both were slow.
It was going to be slow. And I felt like based on the previews that they put the expectations too high.
For LongLegs.
All the scary movies do this.
I'll give you guys the premise of the movie based on the IMDb on here. It says, in pursuit of a serial killer, an FBI agent uncovers a series of occult clues that she must solve to end his terrifying killing spree. So, I mean, that's very, very vague.
It's like 2 sentences,
that's 2
right?
sentences, yeah.
That's the description of the movie?
Yeah, that's at least what IMDb gives. I mean, more expanded idea of what the movie involves is you don't really know this, but you look at how everything's set up. It's around maybe 1992, right? Excuse me. And there is a mass murderer going around that's named LongLegs. And so the FBI has been tasked with trying to find him, but actually in pursuit of that, the new, she's not a lead detective. She was put on the case.
No, she ends up being, they find out that she's somewhat psychic.
Yeah.
Based on the introductory scenes. Right. And then there's this test where she has to guess the number based on patterns, and she gets it
half right.
Yeah, 50-50. Yeah. I mean, in the guy says, oh, how'd you get it right 8 times? And she responds, I also got it wrong 8 times.
Right. So basically like, it's good enough for us. We're going to put you on this case for the LongLegs serial killer. Been doing this for 30 years. Haven't really caught him. Don't have any clues. You're on the case.
You're the guy.
Yeah. And so essentially,
because you get hunches.
Right. Right. 50-50 is all it takes for us guys. And so that's really the premise of the movie. Our description was way better than what IMDb did. Shame on you, IMDb. So as far as casting, I'll just read out the cast that we had. We had I think it's Micah Monroe was Agent Lee Harker. She played the lead role in this one. We had Blair Underwood as Agent Carter. It was pretty much her captain or her commanding officer for the movie. We had Nicolas Cage as LongLegs. Alicia Witt was Ruth Harker, her mother. And I mean, as far as the major players, that was kind of really it, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, what did you think, my love, of the casting options?
The casting options for me were actually a 5. It made the movie not suck. I thought the Micah, is that her name? Micah
Monroe, yeah.
I felt like she did a good job being this awkward kind of person who's trying, and you see why she's awkward because her mother is so weird. And she's trying to just kind of find her place.
Fair.
And then I thought that the mother was awesome. And of course, Nicolas Cage, even though he didn't have Like I mean, he was the scary person, but they really didn't show him a whole lot.
Right.
But the time that he was on screen mattered and made a big impact.
Sure. I will say I'll give it a solid 4.
Okay.
Just because outside of I knew pretty much everyone else. Blair Underwood, I had not seen him anything in a while. He does really great with drama. I'd never seen him in this kind of role. But I mean, I swear to God, Nicolas Cage stole the show.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, he had less
did
than,
really well.
if you put all his scenes together, less than 5 minutes screen time for this entire movie. And the movie itself, runtime wise, was maybe an hour 40, I think, if that.
I don't know, honey.
But yeah, he only had 5 minutes screen time. Absolutely stole the show as LongLegs. If you'd have seen what he looked like, you wouldn't have thought it was Nicolas Cage. Maybe he would do a little move here, a little move there. Like, okay, he does that in his movies.
Mm-hmm.
But by and large, he did a fantastic job.
Really
I honestly put him up there with Gary Oldman, where he could be anybody. And you're not necessarily seeing Nicolas Cage. You're seeing who he's portraying.
Right.
And because we saw him in Renfield as Dracula, Nicolas Cage has some range. So I mean, he absolutely stole the show. It's worth it just seeing him for the 5 minutes that he's on there, because he maximum creep factor, and you do not know what he's going to do next, even for the 5 minutes that he's on here.
Right.
So next we got plot. Honey, what did you think it was for the plot?
Well, okay, I get why they said a cult, but it's really, I don't know. It was a weird plot. It came together. They didn't go anywhere weird with it, in a sense. Like, I could follow the story pretty easily, and I think at one point I realized who the accomplice was. So I don't know. Honestly,
I'll say this, guys. The plot's great. Because
it's 3 or less.
It's a 3. Because the problem is the fact that I think one of two things happened. And now that I know who wrote it and directed, I probably see why. It was either you wanted to write a police procedural on finding a serial killer, wrote yourself into a corner, and then you wanted to do the J.J. Abrams surprise, it involves the occult. Or you wanted to write something supernatural, couldn't figure out how to really do that, and said, let's make it a police procedural. Either way, because there are certain things that didn't line up. And what actually makes this worse to me, of why it should have been more than a 3, was the fact that you made it in what I'm considering the early 90s, which is around the satanic panic years, late 80s to almost the mid 90s, where everything was satanic. People went to jail for this. They were saying kids were like, oh, they're being sacrificed below the elementary school. People actually went to jail for this. It really did happen. We watched the documentary about that occult thing on HBO that happened in the 90s. So the groundwork has been laid before you. You didn't have to write one thing and kind of pivot to another, or figure out like, we're going to go with this, and then, oh, well, we might want to pivot to that. I mean, there was so much groundwork laid there that, hey, it's a serial killer, uses the occult, writes with it in cryptic language, coded language. We're trying to figure out who he is. We don't know who he is. He's doing this for a long time. All of that, you don't necessarily need to add anything supernatural, because it's all there and it can exist just solidly in the physical. So because they use the supernatural angle at the very end to try to explain everything, to try to tie the
I don't think they used it at the end. I mean, they say the dad ends up killing their whole family, and there's no explanation. There's no,
So, well, the thing for me is like, there are chemicals.
Except the letter, right? That he writes in the occult sort of writing.
But there are chemicals that you can put in things that will make you have delirious thoughts.
Oh.
And I'm saying you could have used that and made it so that people thought that, because he was never in the home. Now pacing. Oh, Lord. I am so sorry about this. This movie, if you ordered this movie on a TV, sitting at home on the couch, and you're like, LongLegs looks good, and you order it, you're gonna fall asleep in 45 minutes, or you're gonna turn it off. This thing was slow, all right, slower than The Nun Part 2.
Really, you think so?
Yes, slower. Yes, because at least The Nun had. I mean, well, it's a sequel, and it's also a spinoff. So I give The Nun credit for that, but it was still slow. This movie, everything was slow. Like you couldn't tell where they were. You could barely tell what year it was. They only filmed in one of what I think were 5 locations: a barn, a police, uh, a police headquarters, a house which they could have used for multiple scenes, which had a basement, and a restaurant. That's it. So I'm just like, it's only in one of 4 places. And they're just doing things, normal things. There aren't a lot of necessary jump scares. So you're just waiting for something to happen. After 30 minutes, you're like, oh, this is the pacing that I'm going to be in. I will say they kind of use it to their advantage for certain things. Because it was so quiet, there's a scene where she just puts down a book and it makes everyone jump because it's been dead quiet the entire time. Otherwise, hella slow. What did you think, honey?
I didn't actually fall asleep, but everything was slow from start to finish. Everybody talked slow.
Yes.
Except maybe the commander, or her boss.
Yeah, Blair
You know what
character.
I mean?
Yeah.
He was a normal pace. But like,
there was no urgency. You couldn't really tell there was urgency.
No urgency anywhere.
No.
So if you're expecting, because this is an FBI movie, that there might be a chase or something, there's not.
No.
There's not.
No.
And when they think it's too slow, somebody's screaming, like not like scared screaming, but just being loud to be loud.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, okay.
Right. Which is why when you finally do get to LongLegs, everything's turned up. So with this movie, it's like 80 to 85% of this movie is slow. But that last 30 minutes, oh my God, edge of the seat.
Really?
To me, yeah, because I didn't know what was going to happen. Yeah. And then when she gets the phone call, she's like, yo, you're late to the party.
Yeah.
It's creep. I mean, that's why it kind of bleeds into, again, for how the slow pacing was very slow. Creepy factor to you.
Again, I mean, creepy. Nicolas Cage was creepy. He played his part very well.
Yes.
I think he made it creepy.
Yes.
I guess the plot ties into that. So it was creepy. It was not scary.
No.
So
no, not scary. No.
Yeah.
Don't look for a lot of jump scares. Don't look for not a lot of those. There's maybe 1 or 2, and it's literally just her taking a picture. But the placement of it scared everybody in the theater. But it was like
everybody did jump.
Everyone jumped
because it wasn't scary,
right? Because they didn't really show us what Nicolas Cage looked like, and when we did, we're like, this guy. And then you turned up the creep factor. You were like, what is he gonna do? I don't know what's happening next. And then he does what he does, and then you're like, where do we go from here? I will say Nicolas Cage is probably the only reason that it's a creep factor of about a 3.
Yeah.
Because it was, otherwise they would play discordant music that would be like, and then it would go quiet.
Exactly. That's why I said when I saw the preview, I was like, they're to make you think it's so scary because they did a lot of these like bursts in the trailer.
Yeah.
And I was like, that just means it's so slow, they don't have anything to show you.
Right. So, I mean, honestly, it could have been a little bit more exciting. There could have been a little bit more, exposition is the word, but there could have been stakes that we had to find out because there really weren't a lot of stakes for the main character until towards the end.
Yeah.
So they didn't give us the stakes, so we don't know, like, hey, this has been happening for 30 years, and it's just like 3 agents on this. Like, this should be a bigger thing. You should show me. You show me local you show me local newspaper. Where's the national newspaper if it's going on this long? And so because you don't know what the stakes are, and you're told the stakes 2/3 of the way into the movie, if you need something that has more of a quicker pace, you're already checked out. And you're just waiting for them to confront or find Nicolas Cage's character LongLegs to see, okay, so are we doing a cat and mouse thing? You know,
we didn't even get why he was called LongLegs.
We didn't even.
I was just like, what?
I don't know.
That name doesn't make any sense.
I'm not sure if LongLegs is supposed to be like Long John or something like that.
No, and then one of the first scenes he says, I forgot I only brought my long legs. And I don't know what that means. Like, it just, his name did not make sense. I don't know what it was tied to for the occult. Like, it didn't make sense to me. So.
Yeah. So I if y'all ever find out what LongLegs means, we don't. I mean, because it's supposed to be like, I think it's in the Midwest. I don't know if it's something with like Long Johns or what. But if y'all know what LongLegs are, let us know, because we didn't know. They didn't tell us why he was LongLegs, why he was doing this. We found out how he does it.
Yeah.
And who he uses to help him. But otherwise, there are a lot of unanswered questions, which means
not how he got there.
Like, not how he got there. No. We'll have to check it out. I mean, we'll definitely probably be comparing it to Oddity at some point. That just came out. And Oddity is actually about a woman that goes on a revenge hunt using the cult items to actually take out her targets, which I haven't seen for that person being a protagonist. Usually it's the opposite. The villain's usually doing it.
It sounds like a lot of work, but the preview does look interesting.
Agreed. Interesting. Mm-hmm. So, guys, if you've seen LongLegs, let us know what you thought. You know, is it all hype? Is it going to be kind of in that indie space cult classic? Or whether or not you're like, doesn't even look interesting, I'm out. I will wait until Nosferatu on Christmas, because believe me, we're excited for that too. Anyway, guys, for the Shiro and the E.G.O, we are out. Mm-hmm.